right. This video is going to cover the Ohm's Law practice quiz that we did in class. Let me do this. Let me put on my screen sketch. All right, so this is the Ohm's Law program. So I always tell kids the title is probably going to be the name of your main in your class. So main Ohm's Law and Ohm's Law. Okay. So what this is going to do, Ohm's Law relates the resistance of an electrical device, such as a portable heater, to the electric current flowing through the device and the voltage applied to it. The law uses this formula. So usually I give the kids the formula. V is voltage, measures in volts. R is a resistance, measured in ohms. And I is the answer, the electrical current measured in amps. Write a program that asks the user to enter the volts and resistance and calculate the current amps. Create a setter. Setter is important. That word set, I'll go through that in a minute, but that's going to be our, I call it the Mutator method. Mutator. It means something's going to change, and the way it changes is with an equal symbol. We're going to change variables up. It's going to accept the volts and resistance and to calculate the current amps. Finally, creating a getter method. That gets, meaning it has to return something in your main. So basically all this program is doing is it's asking the user, hey, can you enter the volts and can you enter the amps? And once you enter those variables, can you run this calculation to get the amps? Okay, so I have kids write this out by hand, but I'm gonna do it in NetBeans to demo it in NetBeans for you guys. All right, close that. All right, so in order to do this, I'm gonna say File, New Project. And I'll say next, and I'll call it main Ohm's Law, and I'll say finish. And what that does is creates this main Ohm's Law project. So I open this up, and I open up the source package, and I right click and I say new Java class, and I call this one my Ohm's Law, and I say finish. Something funky happened there. I clicked the wrong one, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna delete this, and I'm gonna do that again. Okay. Sorry about this, guys. So File, New Project, next, main Ohm's Law. So finish. Open up the source package, open up main. There it is. So now I right click on this and say new Java class. Whoops, I keep entering the wrong one. There it is. Ohm's Law. Source package. Main Ohm's Law. Right click and say new Java class and call it Ohm's Law. Say finish. There we go. So it should look like this. It should have the yellow Rubik's Cube main Ohm's Law, and you have main Ohm's Law and Ohm's Law. Okay. So first thing we do, we've got to enter in information. So under the package, we would do import java.util.scanner, and that allows us to use a scanner class, so we can actually input information into our variables. So what we do is we do a scanner, my scanner equals new scanner system.in, and there's an error here, so this is a statement, so you put a semicolon at the end to close your statement. It's like a period at the end. And so what this is doing is there's a class called scanner, and what we do is we create an object from it, and once the object is created, we can call its methods, and I'll show you what its methods look like in a minute. Okay, and so we have an Ohm's law class, which is just this file. Here's our class Ohm's law. So I type Ohm's law, my Ohm's law equals new Ohm's law. Okay, and what this does is it's allowing us to use the Ohm's law methods that we'll call here in a little bit. All right, now errors that I see kids make, they forget to put the opening and closing parentheses on our Ohm's law right here, so make sure that that gets done. And so now I can do system.out.println, okay, and what I need to ask them for, I need to ask them for the volts, okay, and then I need to ask them for the resistance. All right, so right here I'm going to say, please enter the voltage, and you would have, let's just make it a double. A double means that it can hold decimal places. So right now I'm going to define a variable called voltage. Voltage equals my scanner. This is the object that we create right here, and now it's actually popping up this stuff, but my scanner is an object and it has a next double. The scanner class has a method called next double, and it allows me to enter in a number into voltage that has decimal places. Okay, and now I say system.out.println. Actually, you know what? I'm going to run this for you real quick. Let's do this. System.out.println. If I did this, if I said voltage, and I did plus voltage, okay? If I go up here and run this now, it says, and I spelled that wrong there too, so let's do this. Let's make sure our spelling's good. Voltage. And let me close that, sure. Alright, so we run this. Run this again with the proper. So it says, please enter your voltage. Now right here is my voltage, let's say it's 54.89. Okay, when I press enter here, what it's doing now is it's saying, it's printing voltage, and then it's printing my variable voltage that I inputted right here. Okay, so I can keep going. I can go system.out.println, and I can say, please enter the resistance, and we'll say double resistance equals my scanner dot next double. Okay, so now I've got my variables voltage and resistance, and now I can set my amps. So what I do is my Ohm's law, this is going to be my this is my object. It's going to call a setter method. Remember back here I said we were going to create a setter method to set the amps. Okay, so I'm going to just create a method called set amps, and in order to do my calculation I need to pass it the voltage and the resistance. Okay, gosh, I got a hard time typing this out. Voltage and resistance. Now these are called parameters. I'm passing two parameters in. Okay, and I have an error right here. It says cannot find symbol. Well, that error exists because I haven't created the set amps method in my Ohm's law class. So let's go do that now. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say public void, and the word void means nothing's being returned here. I'm going to say set amps, okay? And kids have a hard time kind of thinking through this, but I'm actually passing this data, voltage and resistance. These are going to be stored with whatever information that you type in. These two variables are going to be passed in to this method, and their data type is voltage. Well, let's go through this real quick. Here's another error that kids make: voltage and resistance. Okay, those two variables are passed in. All right, but there's an error here. It says identifier expected. Well, this program doesn't know voltage. Okay, it doesn't know what voltage is yet. Okay, in order for it to know it, you have to define it at the instant it is passed in. So these are double values. Okay, you have to tell the compiler, hey, I need to enter, you know, these variables, and I'm going to use these variables. All right. And then what I do always is that I want each program to know their own variables. Okay, I want this to know voltage. I want main Ohm's law to know the voltage and the resistance. I want Ohm's law to know my voltage and my resistance. Okay, and basically I'm just putting the values of voltage, whatever's stored in it, into my voltage. Now I've got an error. Cannot find symbol, variable my voltage. Well, I need to define those. In order to use variables, we have to define them. So double my voltage and my resistance. Okay. Now, this isn't an absolutely necessary step at this level. The reason I'm doing this is there's a concept later on in programming called encapsulation, and I just teach the kids this now while they're working on these rinky-dink small programs. The idea is you don't want the values in this this class to mess with the values in this class unless you call their methods. Once I call this method and pass a value in for voltage and resistance, these values get changed. And so I don't want them to be able to change them unless they call these methods, okay? So last thing, we got amps. That's what we want to find, right? That's our dependent variable. It's dependent on whatever the value of my voltage and my resistance is. So there's an error here. I got to define my variable, so I go up here and I just say amps. Okay. Notice I'm defining my variables up top. Okay. So once this is called, now amps is set. Okay. We take this, we pass these variables into here, and I think what I'll do is I'll open up a notepad at the end and I'll do some drawing so you can kind of see what's happening. But once they're set, your values are set. Now, nothing's going to display after please enter the resistance until we enter this. System.out.println. My Ohm's law dot get amps. I want to get the amps. There's an error. We haven't created get amps yet. So I'm going to come in here and create a new method, and I'm going to say public and double. Now this word double is important because notice up here, this word void, okay, it means nothing's being returned. When I don't use void and I use a data type, I have to return that type of value, okay? So I'm going to call it get amps, and I'm going to return the amps. Notice, amps are a double. See, double and then amps. Amps is a double value. It holds decimals. So I'm returning a double value here, okay? That's the difference between void right here. The word return is not used in the voided setter method, set. Notice I'm setting my values in here. I'm using an equal symbols to set the amps. In this one, nothing, so this is my get method. So this method is my set method, and it's called a mutator method. Mutate, something's changing. Okay, these values are changing right here because I'm using an equal symbol. This one is my accessor method. I'm just accessing the method, or the method, and returning the information back here. So if I run this now, please enter the voltage. 10. What's my resistance? 2. So 5 is returned, and maybe I want to put a label on that. So I would say my amps is, and then let's try that again. So if I do 10 and 2, then 5.0 is created, okay? So let me try one more thing. File, new, no, file, new. Let's do this. Okay, let's see if I can shrink this down, and I can have 2 different files open at once. So you can file, open. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me open up this, and then hopefully, maybe if you're having a problem ever with passing parameters, maybe this will make some sense. Okay, so I'm going to open up a sketch pad. So here are my 2 files. Here are my 2 files, right? So this value, voltage, gets passed in right here, and this value gets passed in here. Okay, this is hard for kids to see, but this is what I've been trying to do on every single thing, is that we practice. We enter in the volts, we enter in the resistance, and now we set it where we pass voltage into voltage and resistance into resistance, and then I just redefine the variables here and here so that Ohm's law knows these values and main Ohm's law knows these ones. Okay, so watch this video, get a hold of me if you have questions. I think I'm gonna make another one for you either today or tomorrow, but I'll email this to you, and hopefully this helps Tyler with some of his work. Okay, and get a hold of me if you need me. All right, thanks, bye.